Good afternoon, class. This is Dr. Ijoma Paulette Ezuruike from the Department of English and Literary Studies, Faculty of Arts and Islamic Studies, Bayero University, Kano. I'm going to take you on GSP 1201-2201 Use of English. This is a 4-semester course for Group F, Faculty of Law, for 2001-2002 session. This is Module 4 Writing Skills. I divided this into two because of the length of the lecture. So this is going to be the first lecture. The writing skill introduces students to the skill of writing. Good writing is achieved through consistent practice. It is said that no one is a native speaker of writing. For that reason, there is no born writer. Rather, you become a better writer by consistent practice. It also involves one's competence in grammar, which includes the aspects of grammar we've studied in modules 1 and 2 and even 3, and also fluency in the language. This module will discuss issues pertaining writing, which covers the art and style of writing, such as paragraphing, topic sentence, essays, and letter writing. What are the essentials of good writing? Writing must satisfy the purpose of the writer and the reader. It must be well thought out so that the reader is able to identify its theme and purpose. A writer must choose a subject matter in which he is knowledgeable or can find materials to develop. It must be organized in such a way that the reader can identify its trend. A good writing must be coherent. All the parts must live together, as well as show particular direction of thought. The writer must use appropriate connective words to make the sequence clear. The words chosen must be sufficiently comprehensible for the reader to understand the contents of the writing. The grammatical structures must be correct. For example, the use of concord, spelling of words, and correct punctuations. Writing must be legible, especially when it is handwritten. Writing must be put in its right channel. Report format, letter, minutes, article, memorandum, or communique. A good writing must be logical. That means the thoughts and ideas must be sensible. A good writing has to be sequential. There has to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. A good writing should mix the sentence structures using simple, complex, and compound sentences. As much as possible, a good writing should express one idea in a paragraph. The writer should have a topic sentence and develop it in the paragraphs with the topic sentence containing the main idea. When it is not a fiction, it must be factual. Fiction allows imagination. Factual writing admits accuracy and verifiable truth. If possible, illustrate ideas with data visuals, example, charts, graphs, diagrams, or pictures. A good writing should be concise and precise without wasting words because of cost and time of the reader. If there is a need to quote or use other people's original work, they must be duly acknowledged. Otherwise, the writer would be guilty of plagiarism or piracy. Paragraph development. A paragraph is a group of sentences that expresses a single idea. It is a group of sentences that discusses about a particular topic. The first sentence of the group is indented. Thus, a paragraph can be marked by leaving a blank line from the preceding paragraph. A well-developed paragraph should have at least 5 sentences. How do we recognize the topic sentence? Is there actually a particular position for a topic sentence to be placed in the paragraph? A topic sentence usually introduces the entire work. However, a topic sentence is often placed at any position. Sometimes it is placed at or near the beginning of the paragraph. It can also be placed near the middle or end of a paragraph depending on the type of paragraph it is. Sometimes both the topic and the controlling idea are not stated clearly in one sentence. In this case, both are implied. The topic sentence. A topic of a paragraph is usually introduced in a sentence. This sentence is called the topic sentence. The topic sentence can do more than introduce the subject of the paragraph. A good topic sentence states an idea or an attitude, that is, the controlling idea about the topic, as well as controlling what the sentence in the paragraph will discuss. What is an essay? Essay refers to any short piece of writing that analyzes or interprets a situation in a personal way. Many class assignments call for an essay writing because so much of what you write is likely to be in an essay form. Some essays contain the opinion of the writers. Some classify or compare or contrast situations. Some describe a particular event, and in some, the writer tries to convince the reader to follow a course of action. That means we have essays where we show relationship between things or ideas. We also have a descriptive kind of essay. And in some essays, we have a persuasive form of essay. Essays are made up of 3 parts: introduction, the body, and the conclusion. There are basically 4 types of essays. First, the narrative essay. This tells a story of what happened in the past, which could be factual or created. When it is created, it is called a fiction. The dominant tense used in the narrative essay is the past tense. If the narration is a typical experience or what may be going on now, the present tense is used. Second, descriptive essay. A descriptive essay gives a clear picture of a situation or an event. It looks at behaviors and outlooks. Here, adverbs, adjectives, figures of speech, such as metaphor, simile, are used. The description must be organized so that the reader can vividly imagine the scene, object, or person being described. 3. Argumentative essay. This type of essay presents a point of view convincingly for the reader to share or agree. It is meant to either persuade, prove a point, or discuss problems by giving various sides of the argument with or without solution, and uses facts where necessary. 4. Expository essay. This involves giving explanation or specific directives. It is a kind of essay that enlightens the reader through analysis, comparison, and contrast, classification, and exemplification. The aim is to instruct or inform. Another kind of writing is the letter writing. In spite of the relatively recent prevalence of emails and text messages as alternative means of correspondence, letter writing still enjoys a pride of place in terms of utility and is widely used by many people and organizations to correspond or communicate with other people or organizations. Letters are very much important in organizational activities. That is, why companies employ highly trained and specialized secretaries and legal practitioners to help, among other responsibilities, in writing good letters for them. Types of letter writing. There is a bit of a controversy among experts with regards to the types of letter writing that should be adopted in normal communication. Some scholars classify letters into two, formal and informal, while others retain the older classification of letters into three, formal, informal, and semi-formal. It is important to know that the type of a letter is determined by the tone, physical features, and the purpose for which it is written. The formal letter. A formal letter, otherwise known as business letter or official letter, is a letter meant for official communication in business establishments, public institutions, or private organizations. A formal letter may take the form of an application letter, letter of complaint, letter of request, letter of inquiry, or letter of acknowledgments. The language of formal letters should be accurate, concise, clear, and strictly formal without unnecessary greeting or show of familiarity. It is also advisable that a writer of a formal letter should avoid such language usages as ambiguity, contraction, slangs, cliches, idioms, proverbs, wordiness, achaisms, and abbreviations. The format of a formal letter. First, we have an address in a formal letter. A formal letter has two different addresses. The address of the writer, which is known as the addressor, and that of the recipient, addressee. The address can be in a blocked or slanted form and must be written in full with the exception of formal abbreviations such as PMB or PO Box. The address of the writer is written at the top right-hand side of the first page, followed by the date. This is followed at the left-hand side of the page by the address of the recipient, which starts at the first line following the last line of the address of the writer. Abbreviations such as ST for street, RD for road are not allowed in the two addresses. The name of the country should be written if the letter is to be sent to another country. The date. The date is another part of a formal letter. The date should be written below the address of the writer and before the address of the recipient. It is followed by a full stop. These are some of the ways of writing the address. 2nd April 2016 or 02/04/2016 or 02-04-2016 or April 2nd, 2016. The third format part of the letter is the salutation. The salutation is a kind of greeting with which the writer opens the letter. It is written at the left-hand side of the paper, immediately below the address of the recipient. The salutation is always followed by a comma. For example, "Dear Sir, comma," or "Dear Madam, comma." Here, the abbreviations are allowed with titles such as Mr., Mrs., Miss, or Doctor. However, one can decide to drop the full stop after each title. The fourth part of the formal letter is the title or heading of the letter. This is written below the salutation and shows the subject matter of the letter. Titles or headings can be written in either upper or lower case. However, if written in lowercase, titles must be underlined. A writer may decide to write titles in bold print. Fifth, the body of the letter. This section contains all the information which the writer aims to pass across. The section also contains the introduction, the middle, and the conclusion of the letter. The introductory part gives background information on the purpose of the letter, while the middle part presents and develops the item of information the letter is intended for in short paragraphs. The concluding part states the desire or hope about what should happen next. This is done in order to avoid abrupt ending of the letter. 6. The complimentary clause or subscription. This part of the formal letter is written in about 2 lines from the body of the letter, at the left or right of the page. The most acceptable form of complimentary clause or subscription in formal letters is "Yours faithfully" with the Y in uppercase and the F in lowercase. Other alternative ways of closing formal letters include "Yours truly," "Best regards," "Sincerely yours." Note that only the first letter of the complimentary clause is written in uppercase. A comma should be used at the end of the complimentary clause before the signature and the name of the writer. 7. The signature and the name of the writer. This is the last part of a formal letter. The signature of the writer should follow the complementary clause or subscription, then his or her full name. A woman should identify her gender by indicating her marital status by putting Miss if she is not married or Mrs. if she is married, or else MS, which applies to both married and unmarried, can be used. All these titles should be written in brackets after her full name. Here is an example of a formal letter with the addressor, the addressee, the salutation, the title or the head of the letter, the body of the letter, and the signature. The informal letter. This is a letter written to family members, relatives, friends, and acquaintances. As such, it is otherwise known as friendly or personal letter. Informal letters can be written for a number of purposes, such as to congratulate someone on the birth of a new baby, to express sympathy, to make a request, to offer greetings. Due to the level of familiarity between the writer and the recipient of an informal letter, the language of the letter is expected to be relaxed, casual, and chatty. However, the level of informality in this letter may differ from one person to another. This means that the language a person uses in writing to his father, uncle, or a very senior brother could be quite different from the one he or she uses to write to a friend or a colleague. The format of an informal letter. Just like the formal letter, the informal letter has its unique features. First, the address. Informal letters have the address of the writer only. It is written at the top right-hand side of the first page, followed by the date. Like the formal letter, the address of informal letters can be in a block or indented form. The writer may decide to punctuate the address and the date, or may leave out the punctuation altogether. What is important here is consistency. 2. The date. This should be written below the address. 3. The salutation. In informal letters, the salutation usually takes the form of Dear Seth, Dear Joseph. For close relatives, one can use My dear mother, dear father. Note that a writer may decide to write a salutation in upper or lower case, as the above examples show, or he may capitalize only the first letter of the salutation, as in My dear brother. The salutation is always followed by a comma. 4. The body of the letter. This is the stage where the writer explains the message he wants to convey to the reader. The tone of the language of informal letters is very important, as it shows the level of familiarity and closeness between the two parties. In these kinds of letters, a writer may share jokes or use idioms and slangs. The language of informal letters may be used in its contracted forms, such as doesn't, you're, isn't, I've, and so on. One may begin an informal letter by asking about the person's health and the family welfare. 5. The complementary clause. In informal letters, the complementary clause or subscription may include any of these forms: yours sincerely, yours affectionately, yours, your loving daughter. Complementary clause should be followed by a comma. And finally, the name of the writer. This should be written below the complementary clause. Here is a sample of an informal letter which contains the address, the salutation, the body of the letter written in 2 paragraphs, the complementary clause, and the name of the writer. The third type of letter writing is the semi-formal letter. This is a letter which shares some characteristics of both formal and informal letters. As such, it is regarded as a letter which is neither formal nor informal. A semi-formal letter is the letter one writes to someone he knows but does not share a very close relationship or familiarity with him. These include letters to former school head or boss for information, letters to an adult family friend, letters to our friends, a father's mother's friends, and similar persons. The kind of letter contains only the address of the writer, followed by salutation. This is followed by the body of the letter, which should be written in a polite and respectful manner. However, the language should not be too serious to the extent that the letter looks more like a formal letter. The closing of a semi-formal letter may range from more formal to less formal. Thus, the letter can be closed with yours sincerely, yours truly, best regards, cordially. This is the end of the first part of Module 4. We shall continue the topic in Lecture 2. Thank you.